What's up guys, Mickle here, and in this video, we're going to be talking about Federal Reserve policy for 2024. If you're wondering why this matters, well, the Federal Reserve policy through 2024 is really going to dictate whether or not we're in a bull or bear market. The Federal Reserve is what created the massive market crash we saw in 2021, 2022, and it's essentially because they raised rates at the fastest pace in history. Today, we're going to see what the Federal Reserve is trying to do now in terms of its rate policy. The Federal Reserve jacked up rates to try to stamp out inflation, and what we're seeing is inflation rates have dramatically changed since their aggressive rate hiking policy. In this video, I want to talk about how I think that's going to carry out through 2024, what I think is going to do to markets, and why I think this is going to play out the way I describe in this video. So let's start off and talk about what the Federal Reserve is going to do. There's two different things here, what I think the Federal Reserve should do and what the Federal Reserve is likely going to do. Let's start off and say the Federal Reserve is likely going to keep rates unchanged. The Federal Reserve needs to be ultra conservative. They don't want to make it look like they don't know what's going on. So the Federal Reserve is always going to err on the side of doing nothing. Me personally, I think the Federal Reserve should cut interest rates. And the reason I think the Federal Reserve should cut interest rates is really because the Federal Reserve has a dual mandate, right? They need to promote maximum employment in the United States, and they need to keep inflation in line with their target. Their target is 2% inflation. The Federal Reserve, right, when inflation started spiking, raised rates at the fastest pace in history to try to get inflation back in their target range. At the time, inflation was close to 8%. They needed to raise rates to try to bring down inflation. What the Federal Reserve is faced with now is inflation that is projected to be around 1.8% by leading indicators, and some indicators show it coming down even faster. What this means, right, is that based on what inflation is today in the United States, the Federal Reserve should not be running high interest rates because high interest rates bring down inflation, and inflation is already below their target. Now, why hasn't the Federal Reserve already started cutting, and why are rates still high? Well, the Federal Reserve data is a lagging indicator. It happened 3 months ago. That's really where they're pulling from. So what we're seeing is that Federal Reserve data is lagging, so the Federal Reserve is still running policy based on that lagging data, and based on that lagging data, inflation in their eyes is around 3%, slightly higher than their target. So what I'm really trying to point out here, right, is inflation is coming down within the Federal Reserve's target, and the Federal Reserve policy likely very soon is going to be to start cutting interest rates. I think the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates back to a neutral level is going to be very bullish for the market. The market was really kneecapped by the Federal Reserve jacking up these interest rates to try to stomp out inflation. But now that I see inflation gone, now that I see the Federal Reserve in a position where they can bring down rates, I see the stock market and the cryptocurrency market likely going to benefit big time as asset managers see a lot less fear and a lot less worry in the economy. Typically, when asset managers feel more comfortable with where rates are, right, not in record high places and not being raised at record high rates, they're going to feel more comfortable to take on more risk and really expand where they're investing. So this is why I think the rate decision today is going to be very interesting to watch. I would love to see the Federal Reserve cut rates. Something tells me, right, that's too good to be true. We're going to have to see what happens. But the point I really want to make clear is I don't think it really matters what happens that much in the short term. The point I'm really trying to put forward is that we're going to have a lot more Federal Reserve meetings in 2024. And whether it happens this time, whether it happens next time, or whether it happens the time after that, I see cuts around the corner, and I ultimately see that being very important for the market to really perform throughout the rest of the year. So let's see what happens today. This is what I'm watching as really what's going to be the main indicator whether or not we can really get a bullish 2024. We're really at the point now where if rates stay high too much longer, we're likely going to go into some kind of recessionary scenario, and that would be awful for markets. It would be awful for crypto. So We're kind of getting to the point right now where we're about to find out, hey, are we going to narrowly escape this recession? Is the Federal Reserve going to cut rates in time where we're going to be in a very bullish scenario in 2024? Or is this entire thing going to come crashing down and the Federal Reserve is just going to let it fall apart? I don't think the Federal Reserve is going to let it fall apart. I think they're going to take the win. They're going to take getting rid of inflation. They're going to make sure they also hit on the other side of their mandate as well, which is keeping employment in line. That's how I see it playing out. Guys, if you like this new format, me just talking about a single topic, more podcast style, make sure to let me know down in the comments. A little bit of a shorter video. Just wanted to touch on this one topic. Thank you guys for coming. And for now, Mickle out.